I'm going to put my chantilly, and the day you're ready to make a sauce, you combine all this. The only thing you need in cooking is to love cooking. If you don't have any knowledge, the cognac gives a kick of flavor, and the wine is going to bring all these flavors together. I'm going to pour the Bruno. I'm waiting that the reduction of the wine. I want to cross the flavor inside the dish. Hopefully, you have.
Hello, I'm Roseanne Guyette, your host for 5590, but today I'm here as the guest of Chef Bruno Criosi, who is conducting some continuing education cooking classes for us. We are going to be doing this show on a monthly basis, making some of the dishes that are contained in the lessons in our class, but also some brand new things and some tips that Bruno is going to be providing to you. So, Chef Bruno, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Rosanne, merci beaucoup. And yes, today we're going to travel again. I mean, these cooking classes actually, it's about traveling and culture. So there are no borders in traveling. You don't need a passport. The only thing you need to do is to come to the classes, and we're going to travel together. And today, let's make something from my village too. That's my village is from La Loire Valley. That's a northern part of France, and we're going to use ingredients that you use on winter time. When it's very cold outside, we need to warm up, and we're going to make a soup. And one of these ingredients is very known, is potatoes, but the other one is not known to everybody, but you can find it in many stores. What's amazing, a lot of people, when we go to the market and they see some leeks and they say, what is that? How can we use it when we cook? And the leek actually, it has a kind of an onion smell. It's a vegetable who grow in fall and part of winter. It has a lot of flavor, but you need to cut it and to process it in a certain way to have all this flavor in the pan, in the saucepan, and it makes great soup. We use it for when we make some stocks. During the classes, we know how to use many kind of ingredients, but on this one we use it a lot in stocks. It's one of the bases of French cuisine. But today we're going to make a soup. So the leek, the only problem of the leeks, it has a lot of sand and earth when you buy it from the store. So you be very careful the way you cut it and which part of the leek you're going to use. The leek, you begin to cut the green leaf, but when you cut it, you don't need to cut it through. What you want is to remove the leaves that are extremely green and maybe tough to taste for cooking. So this is only the outside part you want to remove. You keep the inside part and the rest of the leaf.
So you just throw those away?
Yeah, you just throw it away. Well, actually, we don't throw...
You told me never throw anything away.
Actually, you're totally right. You never throw things away. You keep it for stocks later on.
Okay.
But we are not going to use it for the soup. Okay? So we have the center part of the leeks. We can remove that inch from the tips. So we don't throw it away. We just discard for another use. And the base.
Now you're going to use that from one end to the other and chop it?
This one would be chopped, and you can smell the taste of the leek. It's like an onion, but milder.
Very mild.
And what you want in cooking, what is very important, is to have all these flavors inside your soup. You don't want any flavor in a garbage can. So what you want is to have all these flavors inside your dishes, and nothing is thrown away. The leftover can be used for all of the recipes, and also will be teaching in the classes and how to use the good leftover in the kitchen. So the leek, what you need to do when you clean it outside, you need to cut in half. It's kind of a part of vegetable, but you can see the color. I mean, it brings sun inside your soup. It's what I love from the leeks.
And how much does that make then when you cut that part up? Cup, half a cup, 3/4?
For the recipes, we need about 3 pounds of potatoes, about 2 leeks.
Okay.
I try to make it easier for the people. When you go to the market, just to buy, don't stick to a measurement. What is important, You buy a couple leeks, around 3 pounds of potatoes. A soup, you can change it, the proportion, up to your taste. But what is important about the potatoes, you check the prices on the market, but the favorite potatoes I like for a soup is red potatoes or the new potatoes. But you can't get them all the time, so you can use other kind of potatoes. And what you need to do in this recipe, it takes about an hour for cooking. So what you do, you peel your potatoes, you dice them, and you boil them in chicken stock. And you boil them in chicken stock about an hour. And it's like a beginning of mashed potatoes. Okay, when they are mushy, what you do, you add some leeks. So the way to cut it, I'll show you how to clean it, how to cut it in half. And now we are going to chop it.
One of the good things about taking this class with Bruno is he'll provide a chart for you and list all the grocers, and you can put in the various items that are on sale. So it kind of dictates what you'd like to be preparing for that week. And it's a wonderful, wonderful cost savings chart to have. So you know that this week this grocer has something on sale, and the next week somebody else does, and you can get your potatoes here and your leeks there, and really cook very economically. And also one of the things that Bruno does share is don't throw anything away. I can tell you my freezer looks a whole lot different today than it did a few months ago before I met Bruno. I've got all kinds of things in there.
Okay, now what we have, I make it in advance because it takes an hour to cook it. So when you cook it, you can, when it's too thick, you add your leeks. Okay, I make a sample for today, and chicken stock. And when this soup is totally cooked, and actually you can begin to taste it on that time, I didn't add yet any salt and pepper. It's always easier to add at the end. You can never remove it. Okay? So the only thing you do when the potatoes and the leeks with the chicken stock are cooked and very smooth and actually like a puree, you finish to puree them, you turn off your fire, and you blend them. You can use a little blender like this one. Okay. So when it's blended, your soup should be still very thick. And to finish it, at this moment you taste it, you add some salt and pepper. And when you taste it, you should have a light salty with a lot of balanced flavor of potatoes and leeks. And at this moment, you need to finish your soup. And to finish it, you need to add some milk and some heavy whipping cream.
It's the one with no calories, right?
Actually, the proportion is very light.
Okay.
You can, for 3 pounds of potatoes and 2 leeks, it may be 1 or 2 cups of milk. You can, in this recipe, what is important, if you want no calories, actually, in the recipe we're doing the classes, I give options. If you want with very light in calorie, you don't need any dairy. You can add more chicken stock.
Oh.
Okay? The option, if you want with calories, but the dairy taste, you can add milk, heavy whipping cream, or either one. If you want with more calories, as I do, add some butter.
Oh.
And I made the butter inside the soup, and actually give a very nice buttery and thick consistent of the soup. But the options are open. Cooking is not closed. It's totally open to your mouth, to your imagination, and to your culture. So when everything is blended and ready to go, you add what you like to do. On the recipe, I would suggest some milk and heavy whipping cream. And the last thing, it's when it's totally done, you can blend it again if you want very smooth, very liquid, or you can keep it chunky. I know some people like it chunky, so that's a good soup for that. If you want a very liquid, like a cream kind, you just blend it more.
Okay.
And at the end, as a garnish, you can chop some parsley. Parsley is a good addition to that dish. I wouldn't suggest crouton or anything like that because it's potato based, so it has a lot of starch. And that's the one totally blended. You just add the parsley as a garnish, and voila.
Voila, I get to taste. The best part of all of Bruno's cooking is the tasting part. I know on those cooking shows you always think that that's a put-up thing, but this is really delicious. Really, really good.
I think that's a fantastic dish because some people think that fine cooking it's very complicated when actually it's very easy to make at home. What you need to do is to be very simple what you're doing. Look for simplicity, follow the steps, and all these things will be taught during the classes. And I give always a lot of options. You don't learn during these classes 3, 4, 5, or 8 dishes. And actually I give you option for a few dozen of dishes. But this is always up to you, to imagination, how to cook.
That's right. Bruno gives the foundation, and then you can build on that, and he tells you all those handy tricks on how to do that. We're done with the soup.
Yes.
And we're going to take a short little break, so join us back here for Penne Arrabiato.
And voila. Merci beaucoup for being back. And Roseanne, I would like to dedicate this dish to you.
Thank you, Bruno. Bruno's cooking an Italian dish, and that's why the dedication, right?
Évidemment. And actually, that dish is my favorite Italian dish. It's from Sicily, and it's a dish you can have it. You can have it as plain as a vegetable dish, and also, if you want, you can add chicken or seafood like shrimp on it. So, this is my technique. Is up to imagination, and this is my technique of cuisine. Because I want everybody in the classes to enjoy eating at home and to continue cooking up to the imagination. But what I do, I want to teach you all the basics of French cuisine and Italian cuisine and Western Mediterranean cuisine. That's the same family of culture. So today we're going to do a Penne Arrabiato, quite kind of spicy, and we have some flamme technique with vodka. And we begin with a sauté pan, and we use pure virgin olive oil. Okay.
One of the things Bruno always says in his classes is he's going to teach you restaurant-style cooking that you can do at home without any fancy gadgets or special kind of equipment. But the food Bruno creates in the classes is on a burner just like this. And it's kind of amazing that you can cook something that's so wonderful with such limited equipment.
Yes, we begin with olive oil, and we put some fresh garlic shaved, sliced very, very thin. So we're going to have some garlic shaved on it, and we're going to have also some
garlic's kind of the ingredient of all Italian cooking, isn't it?
Yes, olive oil and garlic, we give a lot of flavor, and we will finish with some basil. And right now I'm cutting some Roma tomatoes and some mushroom. The mushroom, if you want, you can pre-cook them in advance. But I like everything fresh at the last second. Give you all the nutritious value of a product, and at the same time, a lot of fresh flavor. Okay.
And Bruno, do you share with the class? I notice you're using a vegetable knife. They're the kinds of knives they should be using for different.
The traditional French knife, 8 to 10 inches long, very well sharpened. It's very important to have a very sharpened knife. And actually, the tools we're using today, they're the tools we're using during the class. So there's no fancy equipment or anything. Right. So we have the garlic. What I want is the oil grabbing all the flavor of the garlic. That's very, very, very important. And I want my garlic golden brown. If you are not comfortable of sauteing, you can use a spatula, a wooden spatula, or a wooden spoon. And after, when you see the garlic is golden brown, you add the tomato and the mushroom. And already you have the smell, the flavor. Salt, white pepper, and because the dish is Arrabiato, chili flakes. And I will give you Arrabiato today. Okay. So now I just add some fresh basil. I put at the last second because I want the basil to give a flavor without burning. And chicken stock. The chicken stock, we teach also at the class how to make a stock from scratch. The stock gives a lot of flavor. Stocks I use a lot in French cuisine, and when I cook Italian, I still continue to use stock. You can make a fish stock, you can make a chicken stock, you can make beef stock, anything. So we're using a stock, and it was clarified before all these words I'm using looks a bit fancy or complicated are not. In the class we make everything simple, and you can do it at home immediately after the class.
There's a lot of integration too in the class. So as we go along and you have questions, Bruno is very willing to answer questions, and as the classes have progressed and the students have become more comfortable with Bruno and his cooking, the questions are becoming more and more frequent throughout the class.
Actually, they're not stupid questions.
No, they're good questions.
I want everybody comfortable to ask any question. It's very important that we follow up what we're doing at home. You can call me. You can send me an email. I'm very open. If you want me to email new recipes or anything, I try to do my best for every student because everyone is very important. And now, Rosa, we're going to continue this dish. And when the stock is half reduced, you have already all the flavor in the sauté pan. So what you want, use a flambé technique. And we're going to flambe with cognac because it's a dry liquor. The flambé technique actually will still cooking the ingredients from outside and also give some flavor to the sauce. So now is reducing, and you can see the tomatoes and mushrooms are quite very happy. They're just jumping in the sauté pan. They are cooking evenly, and it will give that little bit taste of golden brown cooking around the ingredient. And when they are totally, the flame will disappear, I will add some butter.
And Bruno, you always caution your students not to try to flambe this on their stovetop if they've got a hood overhead, but rather to move it on the floor or someplace safer.
This is correct. I mean, I feel comfortable to use the sauté technique, but actually when you do it at home, do it outside from a hood because you can burn your kitchen, and that's not the game of that cooking. What you want to do is to flambe the middle of the kitchen, and be careful. Just put what you need in a small glass container, and you put it. And you can help with yourself with a match or a lighter. So you have to be very, very careful. Okay? So the butter I add actually is going to thicken the sauce. That's a good, you can thicken in the roux, we can thicken in many ways, but in this dish, what you want is some butter. We like to bring all together, the ingredient together, all the flavor, and at this moment, when the sauce is ready, you add the pasta al dente, pre-cooked. That means undercooked and still hard inside. So like that, the pasta still will need some liquid. And the liquid you will get it from the sauce. What you want is a pasta very, very, very tasty.
And Bruno, how do you keep that pasta from sticking together? You've had that sitting there and it hasn't gotten gummy. You've added something to that?
Yes. When you cook the pasta, if you're going to cook this dish with olive oil, what you do is when you finish to cook it al dente, that means undercooked, in salty water only. And when it's undercooked, you strain it and you soak it in cold water with ice. So like that, the pasta will stop to cook immediately. If you keep it warm, it will continue to cook itself. So what you want is to soak the pasta with water and ice. After 30 seconds, you remove it, And after that, what you do, you drain it and you add some olive oil and you toss it. That's in the case you want to cook with olive oil. If you're going to cook with vegetable oil, you just mix it with vegetable oils. And after that, you drain it again. After 2 or 3 minutes, you toss it and you put in container and back in the fridge or in a plastic bag. So the day you will have friends coming at home or you're ready to do that dish, the pasta will be ready to go. So now it's going to grab all the flavor, and when there is no more liquid sauce anymore in the saute pan, that means the pasta took it. It's just so happy. And at this moment, you have your dish ready to go. So when you plate it, I like the smell of Penne Arrabiato. That's a noble dish.
And now you can add all kinds of things to this too,
Yes.
can't you?
You can saute with shrimp, you can saute with chicken breast. What you can do is to cook the chicken breast before, you slice it and you put on the top. Okay? And when the pasta is made, you want to garnish. As a garnish, we can use some fresh parsley. You can use fresh basil, because actually the basil was an ingredient of that dish. But always when we cook, what is important is the mood of the cook at this moment. My mood right now is to add some parsley on it. Okay.
Or you could put cheese, or...
You can put Parmesan cheese on it, shred it. If you want it lighter, you don't put any cheese. Remember, you can do light cooking. I give you all the options in the classes. You can do light cooking, you can do no meat cooking, you can do whatever you want to do. I let always everyone coming in the class the freedom to decide what he wants to do at home. And what we teach is the technique. And my technique is to bring from restaurant technique in your house. And that is very important. And this one I want to do a little bit more garnishes, because this dish is for Roseanne, so what I want is you very happy today.
Oh, thanks, Bruno.
Okay, you can add some tomatoes, fresh if you want. Okay, you can have a fresh mushroom.
Bruno, you have a real mission statement that you feel very strongly about in your classes as to what you're going to offer your students and the type of thing that they hope to get by the time they're through with your cooking classes. Do you want to share that with our viewers?
Yes, the first thing is to bring, I have 22 years working in restaurant, and what I want is to bring these techniques to your house. And it's very important that every student is able to do the food you have in the restaurant in your house. The second thing, the advantage when you cook at your home, it's you buy yourself the ingredient. So definitely it will be much cheaper. So my second concern is you need to be careful what you spend. You don't need to spend a lot of money for fine cooking. So and I give also some tips how to buy and what to get and when to get it. So like that you save a lot of money. So the first thing, bring some restaurant technique to your home. The second thing is to watch your wallet, to be careful of not spending a lot of money. And the last thing, you can make, that's so pleasant when you have families and friends coming home on weekends or during the week if you want to show them that you know how to cook. Very simple and very tasty. So give a lot of, it's so joyful when you share with a glass of wine and talking to people, and then they see you to do the last dish in front of them. Because what is important in this cooking, in the cooking classes we do 2 steps. The first one is the preparation. The preparation can be 70, 80, 90% of the cooking. And when everything is prepped, it can be prepped a day or 2 days in advance. The day you have friends, it takes maybe 10% of that time to finish the dish. And people are just impressed that in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you do a very fantastic fine dining cuisine, very healthy at the same time, just in a few minutes in front of them. That's the joy of cooking.
Yes, and that's a big deal. As a cook who has friends over for dinner, you don't want to spend your whole time in the kitchen. You want to enjoy your friends and the companionship, and it's wonderful that you've given us recipes that you can prepare so much of it ahead of time, and in a few minutes, as you said, you can all be sitting down together enjoying a fine meal.
Exactly. So today I dedicate this dish to you, and you have to taste it.
I definitely have to taste it.
Okay, and voila.
Voila.
So we have Penne
This
Arrabiato.
is a beautiful dish. I'm going to put this down, Bruno,
Okay.
just because it's very hot. And I can tell by the smell how wonderful it's going to taste.
You like a smoky smell at the same time. It has all these flavor all
Oh,
together.
gosh. As I said before, I know you all think it's put up when you see these cooking shows and you see people oohing and eyeing and saying how wonderful these dishes are, but this truly is a wonderful dish. Bruno is a wonderful chef. These classes are going to run about once a month. This show is going to be brought to you every month, and Bruno is going to have a guest host each month. Next month, our guest is going to be Dr. Marcy Liddell, the Ames Community College president, and she and Bruno are going to cook up some fancy-fied food for all of you. Thanks for joining us all here today, and look for us next month.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Bruno.